Greetings, everyone. Well, no need to head over to the secret chest this time. We know what we're talking about. We're continuing our way through the Alien Anthology collection. Well, I guess I know last time we looked at the 35th anniversary edition of Alien on Blu-ray, but whatever. It's the same disc that's in here. So, Alien Anthology, continuing on with the 1986 sequel, Aliens. Yeah, if you thought one was bad, this time they're going to a whole planet full of them. Let's talk about it today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Now, I often get asked the question, "Hey Sean, which one do you like better, Alien or Aliens?" And my answer is always the same. I like them both equally for different reasons. The first one is just flat out terror in space. I mean, space is already really scary to begin with. There's just so many things that can kill you. Just being in space can kill you. If you get a rip in your spacesuit, it can kill you. Lack of oxygen, lack of atmospheric pressure can kill you. If the atmospherics in your spaceship break down or something, or the temperature control system breaks down, it can kill you. So let's throw a bloodthirsty alien into the mix too, because space just isn't dangerous enough on its own. Yeah, well, as I said in the intro there, in the first one, they only had one alien to contend with, and we got a lot of information about the alien's life cycle and how it works and everything. Well, there's another aspect to the alien's life cycle that we didn't learn about in that one. Well, mainly because it wasn't originally a part of the alien's life cycle. It had a whole different life cycle, as shown in the deleted scene of the alien nest, when Ripley went to the alien nest in the first one. I guess it was deleted until they put it back into the director's cut. But you know the scene I'm talking about. We talked about it briefly last time. Well, up until the director's cut came out, there was no other explanation for where the eggs came from. So James Cameron came up with his own idea as the director of the second one. And basically what he came up with was the concept of a queen, basically sort of treating the aliens like a colony, like an ant colony kind of thing, or a bee colony, that sort of thing. So anyway, the story in this one is a pretty darn good one, actually. We pick up the story pretty much, well, at first glance it appears to be right where we left off. Ripley's still in hypersleep, and a salvage team picks up the ship and finds her asleep in there, and it turns out that she has not been in hypersleep for 6 months, as originally planned, but actually 57 years. Yeah, so she's basically missed her entire life. Everybody she knew was dead. Now, I should mention, I always watch the special edition version of Alien, and James Cameron himself has even said in his intro for it on this, actually, he says that the special edition is the preferred version. It is the version he wanted us to see, but it was trimmed down for, just to cut it down the running time a bit for the theatrical showings. In fact, rather than just showing you the Alien Anthology collection here, which you've seen a million times before and probably own yourselves, let's put this on instead. This is the original Laserdisc release of the extended special edition of Aliens. Now, I originally owned this back when it was new, and then sadly ended up selling it. And this is falling over. Can we do it? It was standing earlier. There, it's a little bit heavier on that side for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, I used to own it. I ended up selling it. And then I received a package from YouTube user Cynical44, and he sent me a replacement set of it, which is fantastic. I love this collection so much. I mean, even though all the contents of it are on the Blu-ray set and the Alien Quadrilogy set that came out, it's great to just have this in the collection again as a display piece. Now, to give you some idea, people complain about Blu-ray being too expensive, like if you have to shell out $30 for a movie on Blu-ray with some extras on it, what have you. This, back in the early 90s, was about $150. So you get 5 of those special edition Blu-rays that you're complaining about for the same price as this cost. back in the day. Actually, you probably get more now, because that's $150 in early 90s money. So, anyway, Ripley is woken up from hypersleep, finds herself on this space station that she's never seen, and basically finds out that she's been in hypersleep for 57 years. And one of the nice things that's added in the special edition, and the reason I made a big point of mentioning it, is in the special edition we actually find out that Ripley had a daughter. Yes, a character you may be familiar with if you've ever played Alien Isolation. Yes, Amanda Ripley. Well, it's only in the special edition that we ever hear about Amanda Ripley. Therefore, because it's in the game now, and I don't care what anybody says, I consider the game canon. Okay, done. No discussion. That makes the special edition the canonical version, as far as I'm concerned. Not to mention, I just think that aspect of the story adds so much more weight to Ripley's journey throughout this film. So basically, she's debriefed about her mission on the Nostromo. She learns that a terraforming colony has been set up on LV-426, which was the planet they were sent to investigate in the first one. The comic book actually names the planet Acheron, Acheron. I don't recall it ever being called that in the movies. I may have just missed a computer display somewhere that named it, but in the movies, for the most part, it's only ever referred to as LV-426. So there's been a terraforming colony there, and Ripley is horrified to learn that this colony is populated by about 60 or 70 families. So like women, children, men, families. So she's absolutely horrified because the ship is still there. The eggs are still there. She knows that there's a danger there, and nobody is listening to her. She's trying to explain it to them. Nobody's listening. Probably just the company covering shit up again, because it was the company that sent them out there to investigate it in the first place. So what ends up happening is they lose contact with the colony. Surprise, surprise. Gotta love how Ripley just happens to be woken up from hypersleep right before that happens. How convenient, but we'll just let that one go. And they basically need to send a mission to investigate what's going on in the colony. Now, there is one person in particular, Carter Burke, played by Paul Reiser. By the way, this is the first thing I ever saw Paul Reiser in. So when I saw him later in My Two Dads and Mad About You, and then seeing some of his stand-up, I had no idea he was a comedian. So he plays this sleazy, backstabbing, conniving company guy that you just love to hate so perfectly well. I had no idea he was actually funny. So, in fact, there's a great scene in Mad About You, just kind of a throwaway line, where somebody asks his character if he's ever seen the movie Alien, he answers, he says, "Yeah, I only ever saw the first one," which I thought was pretty funny. So, anyway, they want to ask Ripley to go with them as an advisor, basically, because she's had experience with these creatures before, and they suspect that may be related to what's going on. At first, she refuses, but then she decides to go. So she's being sent in with a team of Marines, essentially Space Marines, who are just rough and tough and take no shit and armed to the teeth, and this is going to be a whole different situation from what we saw in the first one. Because in the first one, as we were talking about before, they had to deal with this alien with basically next to no weapons. This time, they've got nothing but weapons. And, so needless to say, they get to the colony and find basically nobody there. And all the colonists have disappeared. So Ripley's pretty sure that, the aliens basically got them all and either have them stored away somewhere or killed them all, or who knows. So they need to figure out what's going on. So they realize that the colonists have personal ID trackers, which are basically like, tracking chips implanted in them. So they search the whole complex and they find where they are, and they're all clustered together in this one little location. And it turns out that that's an alien nest where basically they've all been taken and they're all awaiting impregnation by face huggers to continue perpetuating the species. So, long and the short of it, I don't need to go into the rest of the details, but one of the big things, of course, in this is the introduction of Newt, who's basically the sole survivor of the entire colony. She's this little girl, like the age of my daughter, actually. She's like 9 or 10 years old, and she's been surviving on her own just by, barricading herself in a fairly safe area in the air vents where there's like only 2 exits. She can get out very quickly if she needs to. She's been eating non-perishable food. I love the scene where Ripley follows her into the vents and finds her little home that she set up in there, and everything is conveyed visually in this scene, and you just see all the stuff strewn about that she's been using to survive on, and you immediately put the whole story together in your mind. This is why James Cameron is such a great visual director, is he doesn't need to explain anything. There's no exposition required there. You look and you see. You can see where she was sleeping. You can see all the food that she's been eating. There's garbage laying around and stuff. I mean, she's a kid. Obviously she doesn't care too much about keeping things tidy. She's just trying to survive. And she's been horribly traumatized by the things that she's seen. So, needless to say, Newt joins up with them, and the Marines and Ripley are doing their best to take care of her and keep her safe and everything. By the way, Carrie Henn, who played Newt, it's her one and only movie role. She did not pursue acting after that. It was just a one-time thing, and apparently has had a very successful, happy life as a school teacher ever since. So good for you, Carrie. Educating our youth. Good job. We still love you as Newt, and always will. And apparently she got the role because she was the only kid auditioned that wouldn't smile. She didn't really have any other acting experience. So they said a lot of the other kids that they auditioned for the role would, every time they would say the line, they would turn to the camera and smile. And the reason for that is these kids were accustomed to doing commercials. So that's just kind of how they would do commercials. But with her, she just played it straight. She didn't smile. She didn't like ham, or mug for the camera or anything. Ham in a mug. I don't know. Anyway, she just played it straight and serious, and that was what they needed. And she did a great job. So, good job. Yeah. So I mean, basically, as I said before, I mean, if you thought one was tough, this is a whole planet full of them. And now, if you were actually to break down the numbers, there's supposed to be about 170 or so colonists there. I'm pretty sure they deal with more than 170 aliens. If you figure one alien has to be born of one human, yet they found a whole bunch of humans still alive and awaiting facehugger impregnation. How many exactly are there? I mean, for example, there's another one of the deleted scenes is where they set up these automated Sentry bots that are just motion tracking machine guns. And they set them up at two sort of entry and exit points to where they've kind of set up their base to ward off any alien attacks. And there's some great scenes where you hear the sounds and you see the occasional flashes of aliens being blown apart. But for the most part, you just hear the sounds and you see the ammo counter on like this little computer readout, and the ammo is just being pumped through like popcorn. Basically, it's just it just runs down so fast. Guns are dry, and then they hear the aliens pounding on the door, but then eventually they give up and go away, try to find another way around. So they find their way to the other corridor later, and guns are just blazing away, and then the one of the guns goes dry. One of the guns has literally 10 rounds left, and it stops, and then the aliens retreat. And they're saying, well, next time they just walk right up and knock, because they're out. They've got nothing left. But it's not a scene that really particularly adds anything to the story. But what it does succeed in doing is it conveys just the sheer number of aliens and just how relentless they are. I was going to say unrelenting, and then I was going to say relentless, but I almost said unrelentless, which wouldn't have made sense. So, yeah, so that's the thing that adds to the story. But the thing is, getting back to what I was saying before about Ripley, God, I just can't talk today, about finding out that Ripley has a daughter, is it adds an additional layer to the story of her relationship with Newt and her protectiveness of Newt. Because with her daughter, she originally went off on her mission with the Nostromo and promised her daughter that she would be back in time for her 11th birthday. So when she wakes up from hypersleep, it's 57 years later, Amanda has lived her entire life and actually passed away of old age. And had no children, no heirs. So that's one of the things I really like about the game, is that now Amanda has a story. So previously, we knew nothing about Amanda other than she was Ripley's daughter. She never saw her mother again, and then died of old age, single, and without any kids. So that's all we've known all these years. So it's great. I love that Alien Isolation and potentially a sequel or two are filling in that gap and giving us the story of Amanda. and that she didn't just live her life without any thoughts of her mother. She was in fact trying to find her mother, or at least find out what happened to her, because she knew that her mom wouldn't just leave her like that. I mean, you can tell just by how Ripley interacts with Newt what a good mom she must have been. Very attentive, very loving, very caring. It just happened that her job was such that it took her away from home for long periods of time. So it was unfortunate. But, boy, what can I say? See, this is another one that I can just talk about for hours, because I just love this movie so much. My first introduction to it, I guess, was, when did it come out? It came out in 1986, so I would have been 14. So still not quite old enough to go see it in the theaters. But anything I could find about it, I was really intrigued by it. I'm pretty sure I had seen the first one by this point. So, I know I said I think I was 15 before, but I think I was actually a little bit younger than that. Because I remember I saw The Thing, which was my first R-rated movie, when I was 12. And I'm pretty sure I saw Alien not too long after that. So it would have been 13, 14. Anyway, it was before Aliens came out. So Aliens came out, and there was a lot of hoopla about it. I mean, there was like a few trailers that aired on TV. There was lots of reviews and stuff. So what I did was I just recorded stuff off TV, like anything to do with aliens. So I had the original teaser trailer, which is a very eerie trailer. It's quite a bit different from the ones that you normally see on YouTube and such. If I can find a link to it, I'll put it in the description down below just so you can see it. But so there's a teaser trailer and just a couple of random scenes that were kind of snipped, cut down. There was the scene where they're in the room looking at the motion trackers, and Hudson is like freaking out because he's just seeing a huge signal getting closer and closer and closer until it looks like it's reading that it should be inside the room, and they're like, but there's nothing here, and then they all just slowly look up at the ceiling and realize they're above them, and the scene goes to the point where Hicks is just poking his head through the hatch and turning the light and about to look. And of course in the movie, that's when we see all the aliens coming. But it cuts just as he's looking. And wow, what a what a way to preserve this, to give us a taste of the suspense, but to also preserve the payoff. And there was a couple other scenes, just of random stuff. There was the scene of like when Hicks is showing Ripley how to use the pulse rifle and stuff like that. Just some little character moments and whatnot. And so I mean that was my first taste of Aliens. And then needless to say, as soon as it came out on video, I jumped on it. I remember I went to see some other movie. It might have been no, actually I don't even know what it was. I went to see some movie in 1986. Well, it could have been anything. I saw a few movies that year. But it wasn't Transformers. I know some of you were probably going to ask me that. But I saw something, and I remember one of the theaters was playing Aliens, and I could hear some of the sounds coming out of the theater, and it just sounded like total chaos and horror. And I was like, oh, man, I really wish I was seeing that right now. But like I said, in Canada, R is R. If it's rated R, man, you cannot see it unless you are 18 or older. Or wait for it to come out on video, because the video store owners never cared. It's like, yeah, here you go, kid. Enjoy the porn. But so anyway, I really enjoy a lot of aspects of this. I enjoy the fast pace of it. It's quite a contrast to the original, which is very leisurely paced. I like the fact that it sort of takes things to the next level, whereas we had a long introduction to the alien and its life cycle and such, and then just a wonderful kind of stalking horror type movie throughout the latter third of it. And then this one takes it to the next level. It's like Ripley is being plagued by nightmares and dreams and so forth. And there's a scene where Carter Burke, who's Paul Reiser's character, talks to her about it. He says, like, yeah, I've read your psych profile. You're having all these dreams and nightmares and stuff. This is an opportunity for you to face that fear. And that's ultimately what convinces her to go. Is she realizes that she's got to face this fear, and in doing so, I mean, as I say again, with the story of Amanda being in there, she not only faces her fear, but also kind of has her own personal catharsis for missing out on her daughter's life, So I love that about it. And the Marines, holy crap, what a great bunch of characters. Just so much fun. I love every single one of those characters. Especially, you got Abe Hone, who's like the rough and tumble sergeant, and you got what is it? You got Hudson, of course. Bill Paxton's Hudson is great. Michael Biehn, who I recognized from Terminator, which I had also seen recently, and as Hicks, of course. And you got Vasquez and Drake and Spunkmeyer, crazy name, and all the other guys. It's just a great bunch, and again, much like the first one, where you really got the sense that these characters knew each other really well and had a lot of history together. You get that same sense with this group of Marines. Like, you get the feeling that for the most part, they know each other really well. Their commander. Obviously not. He's only been on. What is it? They ask him, so how many drops is this for you? He said, 37 or whatever, 32, and he's like, he says, what is it? 28 simulated. That's what it was. And he says, well, how many combat drops? 2, including this one. And what was his name? Gorman. That's who it was. Gorman. And Gorman is just like, he's the most useless commanding officer ever, and he's the guy in charge of the mission. He's mission control, and he just loses it almost immediately. And then, he gets knocked unconscious, and then you don't see him for like a full third of the movie, and then suddenly he comes back, and it's like, when I was rewatching, I was like, oh yeah, Gorman! I forgot all about him when he showed up again. And he does redeem himself by the end of the movie. There's that wonderful scene in the air vents where him and Vasquez has been injured, and the two of them are cornered by the aliens, and then he activates the grenade, and like that's his moment of redemption, and it's great. And the whole scene where the Marines go into the nest, and then they just get overwhelmed, and I love how the way that's shot is we'll see some moments, in the heart of the action where everything's happening, but the vast majority of that scene we're just seeing the monitors from the helmet cams, like the fuzzy video, crappy, staticky helmet cams of the Marines, and essentially seeing things from their perspective. And then that sort of grainy fuzziness where you can't quite make out what's going on, but you get the gist of it, just makes it scarier, I think. And then Gorman's watching it, and he's just like losing his shit. He doesn't know what to do. It's just all this chaos going on. He's completely out of his league dealing with this thing. And then, of course, that's Ripley's big moment right there, where she jumps in, takes over, and goes off and rescues all the Marines, for God's sake. Holy crap, the special effects in this. This movie is an absolute testament to just how good practical effects can be in the right hands. I mean, they used every freaking trick in the book in this. There are miniatures, there are bigatures, there are guys in suits, there are guys hanging from wires, there's rear projected images being used instead of blue screen, there's models, there's it's just every trick in the book. And the thing that I found really impressive about this, most of all, is anytime there is live actors in the screen, none of it is blue screened. There is no compositing whatsoever. All of the shots with actors in the shot are done in camera. Almost everything was done in camera except for the spaceship stuff. Like the muzzle flashes and such, that's actual muzzle flashes from those guns. I mean, obviously they're firing blanks, but those are actual muzzle flashes. Those aren't added after the fact. When when the drop ship is crashing and tumbling towards them on the alien landscape, that's not a composited effect. They had a gigantic rear projection screen behind the actors and projected the footage, like the model footage of that, behind them, and then just matched up the performances with it. And it works really, really well. And not only that, but I mean, I'm sure that allowed them to save a shit ton of time, because they're just doing it all in camera. It's like, okay, print that, we'll cut it into the main film. Done. Amazing. Just amazing work. You contrast that to something like Avatar, now, one of James Cameron's more recent films, completely different story. Like, everything is green screen, everything is CG. Boy, the world has changed. But if you ever had any doubts about James Cameron's capabilities to do things without all the CG, just look at Aliens, man. I mean, it's fantastic, and even the original Terminator. I mean, there's not a lot of compositing effects. And there's basically the only stuff really is when you see the Terminator endoskeleton come out of the flames. that one shot. It's stop motion animation. Everything else is models and in-camera effects. Even a lot of the future world stuff, like the apocalyptic future stuff. But yeah, I mean, watching it again, I forgot like just how jaw-dropping the effects are in this. But it's all animatronics and guys in suits, and it's just and models and in-camera effects. It's just amazing, and it still holds up phenomenally well. I gotta say, actually, just overall, the effects of both the first and second ones still hold up phenomenally well. They just outstanding model work and effects work on both of those. There are some things that maybe look a little dated. Not so much in Aliens, because it was meant to be, this sort of rough technology anyway, so it's okay that it looks kind of primitive. The first one, it looks a little bit more dated just in terms of some of the design, in particular the computer consoles and things like that, and computer displays. But really, even then, you just kind of excuse it and don't really think twice about it, because it's like, well, this is like a blue-collar mining ship. Why do they need any kind of freaking fancy display? In fact, I just saw something recently where, what the hell was it? It was some kind of industrial complex uses a Commodore 64 to manage all of their security or something like that. Like, it was this 30-year-old computer that they're still using today to do, fairly important shit. Or no, it was like, what was it? It was like an auto shop, I think, and they were using it to manage some of the, like aligning brakes or something. I can't remember. It was some kind of like car mechanics thing that they had this old Commodore 64 still chugging away 30 years later doing it, and they had their custom software on it. So it's not unreasonable that a ship like the Nostromo or the Sulaco would have older technology on it, because it's like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It works, it gets the job done, who cares? So it looks outdated to us here in the future, but the future of the past, it was actually, even back then, I think it was kind of dated, but whatever. It is what it is. Bottom line, I love Aliens, and anyone who does not think that this is one of the two best movies in the entire franchise is quite frankly insane and has very questionable taste. I'm looking at you, person who thinks that. Alrighty. Well, as I say, this is another one I could just go on and on and on about. I think I hit some of the main beats there, but I'm sure we'll revisit this at some point and talk about even more things, because I just love talking about these movies. Alrighty, that is not it for Alien Week. I know I'm a little behind, but whatever, we'll get caught up. Next, of course, we're talking about Alien 3, a very controversial chapter in the saga. I have mixed feelings about it, but we'll talk about that next time. Alright, gotta pick a chocolate bar. Well, it's gotta be this one. It's gotta be a Butterfinger, because don't lay a finger on her, you bitch. Yeah, I know that's not actually the line, but whatever. Quick thank you to my Patreon sponsors, especially Kyle Pellegrini and Get Your Gorgeous On, my two highest level sponsors. And I'll see you guys next time. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara. Oh, I remember one other thing I wanted to mention. The music. The first movie had a wonderful score by Jerry Goldsmith. This one has a wonderful score by James Horner. So Alien 1, Jerry Goldsmith. Alien 2, James Horner. It's the 50th anniversary of Star Trek this year, so I thought I would just kind of make this little correlation for you. Star Trek The Motion Picture, which actually came out the same year as the first Alien. Score by Jerry Goldsmith. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, from 1982, score by James Horner. I'd also like to mention, regarding the score in Aliens, there's a couple tracks from this that were used in movie trailers for just about every single action movie ever throughout the 90s. For it must have been a good 10-year stretch. I would hear tracks from the Alien soundtrack constantly in these trailers. I'm like, really? You don't have your own score? You have to keep reusing Aliens over and over again? And I was quite intimately familiar with that score because I had the audio cassette of it and would listen to it a lot because it's an awesome score. Alrighty. that's definitely it. See you next time. Can the grease be not on my glasses anymore, please? That'd be great, thanks. What the hell? Why am I gliding into the wall? Hello. Welcome back. Now, I often get asked the question. Quickly doing this before SNI. That's Saturday Night Insanity. Saturday Night Insanity, which is our weekly geek chat that I do live every week right here on YouTube. Lately, we've also been simulcasting on Facebook and Twitch. And also the past few weeks we've been doing it on Sundays because of my stupid work schedule, but normally it's on Saturdays. Be sure to join us. 8:08. Shit. Oh, fuck. I'm tripping over. Gah!